A lot of you have asked for it, and now here's a full modification breakdown list on my 2004 Nissan 350Z. Check it out. Hey, what's up guys, and welcome to another episode. I am about to do the full mod list on my car. A lot of people have asked for it, and I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos lately about a lot of people doing the breakdown list, and it's really interesting to me, so I figured it'd be really interesting to you. So I'm gonna go over exterior of the car, interior of the car, suspension, my engine obviously, and wheel tire setups and stuff like that. So I think first we'll go with the exterior. Okay, starting with the exterior of the car, it's a 2004 Nissan 350Z DE base model trim. Nothing fancy. I didn't want anything fancy because I knew that it was going to be a drift car and I wanted to modify it. So I didn't want to get anything like the Nismo edition or the HR style because I knew that I'd probably be going through a bunch of engines and those are more expensive and rarer to find. So right now I'm just kind of doing a walk around so you guys can see. There's not really anything that spectacular about it. It's a super clean car. I really like the styling of the Z's in stock form. I don't like the wide body, really. I don't really like body kits. I do, however, like the duckbill spoiler wing that KBD makes, and so I will be acquiring that. I took the factory one off. And you can see the lights. If you guys have watched my other videos, you know that I got the HR style tail lights. And I acquired the custom HR headlights to give the front a more aggressive look. I also have had this lip on the factory Nissan 350Z bumper for a long time. I really like the way it looks aggressive, and it's plastic, so when I drift, if I hit something, if I bend it up, if I go off track, I don't have to worry about it breaking and shattering to pieces like carbon fiber or fiberglass. So I've added a couple little things, got this air vent, and yes, it's functional because I do have a supercharger, that in a little bit. And other than that, I've added like these carbon mirror covers. I wrapped the roof, this black. I just got my new windshield. If you guys saw the last video, you can see this is my brand new windshield. So I'm gonna put a banner on it, but I don't really have anything else for it. Other than that, car's pretty factory. Like I said, I just really like the styling of how the Nissan Z comes. So why change it? So, yeah, I think that's it. Let's go to the interior. Okay, the interior of the car is arguably where I've spent the most money while getting the least amount of stuff out of it. Let me show you what I'm talking about. There's nothing left in the car. I did keep the dash because I like the factory look of it having like a back half cage and then the front still feeling like a car rather than just a bar with a gauge cluster sticking out. I don't really like that. I like it to feel more like it's like a custom design, maybe a custom built car that serves its purpose for the track. So I have right here a Sonoma spec cage that Hexa Motorsports built for me. They're out of Santa Rosa. You can see we cut the Z-bar out. The Z-bar that goes across is nice, and it does add rigidity to the car if you're leaving it in factory form, but because I drift, I wanted to have it that much stronger. So we cut the Z-bar out and we added one that's lower in between the strut towers. And then we added this crossbar, and then it's a 6-point cage. If you come around over here, you can see the cage comes down and it touches the box. And then we added, for structural rigidity, we added this dimpled eye plate that welds from the cage to the car to make it that much more stiff. And believe me, it was much more stiff. I had to really relearn how to drive the car because it was that much more responsive. So you can see back here, it also makes it easy after cutting the Z-bar out to get to the top hats of my suspension. If I want to change the dampening on it, it's just click and go. And then we have these Bride knockoff seats. Yeah, they're knockoff because I'm cheap. And then I got the Takata harnesses. They're actually a street harness, so they're legal for street use, but I can also use them at the track. Just one button, click and go. It's already set for me. And then I have an NRG quick release, my Grip Royal steering wheel, and it's called Dextron spokes because if you haven't noticed all the blood spatter, I kind of have a thing for that show. So anyway, and then my handbrake, ASD, I mounted it in here. I wanted it to be clean. I wanted it to be kind of hidden and still be able to keep the interior looking close to factory. So everything on it's fully functional. And then last but not least, fire extinguisher. It's like they put that hole for the fire extinguisher. Julie and I, when we were trying to find a place to have it mounted, because Sonoma requires you to have a fire extinguisher for tandem, we needed to find a place for it. And I didn't want to do the same old thing where everybody has it hanging off their cage or has it right beside them or something like that. So after we pulled the carpet kit up, we found that big hole and it actually worked perfectly. So it keeps it clean, keeps the foot area all nice and level. Actually, you're not really supposed to step on it, but you can see that when I'm resting my foot, it will kind of hold across. So okay, now out of the interior and onto the suspension, and I'm gonna go for the suspension on the rear right now because the front has a lot of moving parts to it and I wanna be able to explain all of that. So coming down into here, let me get my light. You can see I have Ksport slide control coilovers. They're about the best coilovers I've ever used. I've had them on my car now for 3 years and they've worked amazing. I haven't had to really adjust them unless I've changed my suspension setup. But besides that, the damping's good. I don't have any leaks. And I also take care of them. So I think that's a big thing. If you take care of them, you lube them up, and then make sure all the bolts are tight. You can see on these bolts, I have all of them indexed actually, so I can make sure that I don't have any parts moving. I do throw this car around a lot, so I'd hate for something to come loose on the suspension. So the other part I have, another thing actually real quick, on the Z's, these actually come with a bucket and spring setup and then a separate shock. And so I changed it to a true coilover. So the true coilover goes on where the strut would go, and then I removed the bucket and spring and I added these Voodoo arms in the back, and I have all three of them for camber, caster, and tow. As you can see, I've had Voodoo for as long as I've had the car, and anybody who's using suspension setup, I always recommend Voodoo because not only is it a good product, not only is it easy to use, their customer service is amazing. So yeah, kind of my shout out to Voodoo. So anyway, I have the Voodoo arms, and then besides my diff being welded, it's all factory back here. The car, like I said, handles really well. My next thing I do want to do, however, is I have a subframe that I'm going to be putting solid bushings in and changing out. That way it'll make the rear end of the car a little bit stronger. So other than that, I don't really have much more going on for the rear suspension of the car. So yeah, let's check out the front. Okay, the front of the car is kind of where the magic happens. You can see I still have the Ksport slide control coilovers for the front, because why wouldn't you buy all four? And I have PBM's lower kit. For those of you who don't know about drifting, a lot of style and angle comes from how much your front can articulate and correct without looping out. And so there's a lot of companies on the market right now, Wise Fab, FDF Fab, Power by Max, which is this PBM kit that allows for more angle for your turning to be able to correct so you don't spin out when you're drifting. And so I have PBM's kit. It's a really nice kit, went in super easy. I've had it now for, I want to say maybe 2 years, and I really haven't had any issues with it. I'll show you in just a second how much more turning we get out of it, but I wanted to share. I don't have any upper control arms changed. I haven't really done anything except for new wheel bearings. And that is a factory sway bar that I painted red. So that being said, let me put the camera down and I'll show you just how much turning you get out of a angle kit as opposed to a factory kit. Okay, so as you can see, maybe a little bit easier with a wheel on, but you can see how much my wheel turns for correction. When I go back the other way, the lead tire goes out quite a bit. It's really helpful, and I know it might be a little difficult to see right here. Okay, and now for my favorite part, as for any car guy's favorite part, the engine. Give you a look at it real quick. There's not a whole lot of extra parts on here. It is a factory DE VQ 35 engine. However, it's got this jammy, this beautiful Vortec V3 supercharger. Everything on it is custom black. But it's set up exactly as Vortec says to. I didn't have any special tunes. I don't have anything special with it. It is smog legal, and it makes a lot of power. It makes about 430 horse. Okay, the only other thing that I did do was change the cooling. I have Mishimoto's fans as well as their radiator for better cooling. And Vortec, along with the V3 kit, comes this huge intercooler to keep your intake charge nice and cool. But other than that, I've tried to keep everything clean, appear factory, and still make good power. I do want to drive it on the street a lot. I do want to go to shows. I want to be able to drive it to the track, and I want it to perform well when I'm drifting at the track. But it's pretty simplistic. It works well for me, and I feel like if you're gonna build a car, you build it for what you want it to do. You don't need to have a stupid amount of power if you're gonna drive the canyons, or you don't need to have all the suspension set up if you're just gonna do drag. Well, you do need suspension, but I'm saying you don't need stiff suspension for like twisties if you're gonna do drag. Anyway, you get the idea. Well, that's it. Hope you enjoyed it. That's my build breakdown. As the car progresses, as I get more parts for it, and as I get other things going on it, I will keep you updated. But as always, thanks for the love, thanks for your support. If you wanna see more videos like this, ding the bell and hit the subscribe button, and I will see you next time. Thanks a lot.